Thanks everybody for joining me back at the shop today. I started this video a month and a half to 2 months ago. Little did I realize how different it would be now. Amazing what just 4 to 6 weeks can do, right? Where we find ourselves. The information for this video I've compiled over talking to other repair technicians. My wife, who is certified, she's a surgical technologist, also certified in the sanitation and sterilization of medical equipment. My mom, my partner in crime, Mr. Chris Barker, that I've worked 15 years with side by side. Let's jump into this. When I got in the business in 1994, the chemicals that we used to clean instruments was almost totally different. Lots of heavy chemicals, lots of things that the regular person did not have access to at their house or on their own. We had to wear all kinds of special equipment, had to be in super ventilated areas. We couldn't pour the chemicals down the drain. They were not bio-friendly. We had to dispose of them in certain ways for a lot of them. Prior to 1994, my father taught me how to clean my instrument in the bathtub when I was in 5th grade, 6th grade band, using mom's dishwashing detergent, a series of brushes, that kind of deal. In 94, I graduated from repair school, had this whole new outlook on the way chemical flushes worked, chemical flush and what it did, the process for it, the chemicals that were used. We've had, since that time, it's 2020, so a few years. Since that time, a lot of things have changed. Our processes for the way we work on instruments has changed. What instruments are made of has changed. The germs and things that are in the air have changed. So a lot of times that we hear, Miss Susie comes in with her daughter's instrument and she's been sick and she wants to have the instrument sterilized. Sterilized. These words have caused so much confusion to me, and I know they've created a lot of confusion to other people. Sterilize is a medical process. The instrument is actually, so for medical instruments, they go into a tank, and they're actually steam and pressurized at 275 degrees for a certain amount of time. Sanitize. This is what we do. Sanitize is a restaurant process. It's what happens at all of the restaurants, food grade quality. The process is to clean with a detergent, followed by an acid that will remove germs, pathogens, followed by disinfection. Okay? Let's go over that again. Band instruments get sanitized. That is the medical term for it. It's cleaned, an acid that removes pathogens, germs, followed by disinfectant. Okay? Day to day, the number one thing that you can do is to keep your mouthpiece clean. When I was I don't remember about middle school, but when I was in high school, if you asked me to empty my pockets, it would be my keys, my wallet, my Swiss Army knife, and my mouthpiece. I don't think for 15, 18 years, my mouthpiece or any of my friends' mouthpieces saw the inside of their case. Always in a pocket. We didn't know when we were going to play. We'd just start playing at the drop of a hat. We'd join in with some other band, or we would be off to a practice room, off to warm up. You're constantly warming up, keeping your face limber. So that was our life for a really, really long time. So when we would pull our mouthpiece out of our pocket, then it would have, pocket lint and dirt and stuff in it. But we wash our mouthpiece in warm soapy water, kept the mouthpiece from being cold on the face. Washing the mouthpiece every day before we played cut down on acne. If you notice that your teenagers in high school have a lot of acne around their mouth where they're playing, it's from the mouthpiece. We often encourage, we try to tell everybody, especially if you've been sick, you have a cold, anything like this, wash your mouthpiece every day. Wash it every time you play. You can't hurt it. You're going to wash it in warm water. You're holding your hands under that water. It's okay. You're not going to hurt that mouthpiece. Use a brush. If you have any buildup inside the shank of your brass mouthpiece, or if you have collections of the green and white lime scale on your woodwind mouthpiece, then all of that has to be gotten out. You have to get rid of all that before you can use a disinfectant. And a disinfectant is either a germicide. This is a Mighty Mist from Rochelle Thomas. And right now you can't even get the pink stuff, the Sterisol. It's unavailable right now. These are disinfectants for your mouthpiece. Most everyone has been using them wrong forever. I don't know how many testings that I've been to or been with friends, and we take some of this and we spray it on and we wipe it with our t-shirt and we hand it. Hey, I just got this really cool new mouthpiece. Check this out. Take my spray, wipe it off my t-shirt, hand it to my buddy. You didn't disinfect that. Didn't happen. According to the manufacturers that make all of these products and the CDC, this Sterisol, the Mighty Mist, the germicide, these are alcohol-based. They have 70% alcohol in them. You put this on your mouthpiece and you let it dry. It takes approximately a minute for it to dry. That's with those. With the pink stuff, the Sterisol, you have to let your mouthpiece sit in there for approximately 10 minutes. It's not a wipe and go. You put it in a cup, you let it soak for 10 minutes. I'll post the MSDS sheet for this. In order to disinfect your mouthpiece, it has to be clean. So all of the crud that's down in the shank of a brass mouthpiece or the lime and scale that's in your woodwind mouthpiece, you have to get rid of all of that. You have to soak it in peroxide. There's the vinegar method. There's the soak it in Dawn dishwashing liquid. Get rid of it. But all of that stuff has to go before you can disinfect. You can clean, but if it's not clean and there's stuff on there, all of those parts, then the disinfectant is just going to go right by it. It is not going to penetrate through. That does you no good. One thing that we see, I'm amazed at, since 1994, I've heard this so many times. They bring their mouthpiece in, it's deformed, or it's black, or anything like this. What did you do? We put it in the dishwasher. Friends, don't put your mouthpiece in the dishwasher. It's not good for it. If it's too hot for you, it's too hot for your mouthpiece or your instrument. Okay? No mouthpieces in the dishwasher. Not a good idea. Don't Kim flush your horn by putting it in the dishwasher. And these are things that we have seen, okay? So let's not do that. Wash your reed in the reed holder. You know, you're not supposed to store your reed on the mouthpiece, keep it in the cap. Yeah, no. 90% of the instruments that we see, the reed is on the mouthpiece. It is what it is. But wash it. Pop your reed off. When you wash your mouthpiece, wash your reed. If your reed has made it long enough that you're seeing spots on it, on the backside, on the rails or something like that, wash it. Those spots are not good and they'll get you sick. There's a lot of crazy pictures going around right now. Wash your reed holder. If you're a brass player and you have one of those burps, wash it. You don't have to necessarily disinfect it, but definitely clean it. I want to get to a serious kind of a little point here. In our area in South Mississippi in 2005, we had this terrible hurricane called Hurricane Katrina. it decimated us. The homes, people, instruments did terrible things. It took a long time for a lot of people to rebuild. I don't know if it brought to light stuff that had never been really talked about. It's always kind of in the back of your head, but nobody really talked about it. But after 2005, I remember hearing all about mold. Mold in the walls. Mold anywhere there's moisture. Mold among instruments, school-owned instruments that kids are playing. Fast forward to around 2011, 2012, we had to redo our chemical flush procedures again. Somebody made a joke one day over saxophone lung. You know, hacking and coughing. Feel like I got the saxophone lung. Come to find out, that's an actual term, saxophone lung. Most basic form that I could find it, it's mold and germs. It's been around for a really, really long time. It applies to all of the instruments, not just saxophones, but I guess saxophone lung had the coolest ring to it. Germs stay on your instruments. You play, you put your instrument down, those germs are still there 3-4 days. The number one thing that you can do, and I'm always happy when I would come home and see my kids, my front room right now, actually, when you come in, my son, he's got his trumpets. The case is setting open. I always encourage Friday night lights after the big football game, after the big band game, and some guys running around there playing with a ball. When you get home, open your case. Let it dry out overnight. Don't keep that moisture trapped in. The moisture that you've played into your instrument and the moisture that the case has absorbed being out, all of these things combined. You close up the case, everything just lives and breathes. It's an incubation ground for mold and other kinds of bad stuff. The simplest thing that you can do without even touching it is to open it up and let it air out. A lot of shops are putting instruments into a 4-day quarantine already. That's what folks are talking about doing. A lot of shops have moved towards doing that. So enough of this doom and gloom. Let's talk about some of the things that you have to do these procedures. Okay, I want you to be safe. I want you to wear safety glasses or a helmet, a face shield if you have it, the hazmat suit gloves, blue gloves. These thicker mechanics gloves. Palmolive, don't get the dishpan hands, okay? But protect your hands somehow. Lysol rods, flute rods, trumpet rods, cleaning trumpets, trombone rods, valve casing rods. Not pictured is our pink Stericyl, germicide hand sanitizer, our Mighty Mist from the Roche Thomas. 2 side notes, friends. Lysol is a disinfectant. It is really great at killing germs that are on this surface. It, however, will not kill the germs that are on our hands. Active ingredient in Lysol is benzalkonium chloride. Let's say that again. Benzalkonium chloride. I don't know what it is, but I know it does really good at taking care of germs on a surface. However, when you read the label on your hand sanitizer, some are using this active ingredient, benzalkonium chloride. You want to make sure that the active ingredient on your hand sanitizer is ethyl alcohol. And you want that, according to the CDC, you want that at least 60%. Most of them are like this and have 70%. Thing 2, if you have your hand sanitizer for a long time, Dr. Mom recommends getting some straight up isopropyl alcohol that you can get in varying degrees. You can get 70, 80, and almost pure, right? But at that 70% alcohol, you can cut this. If this has gotten hard and old or whatever, add some alcohol to it, shake it up, rejuvenate it. Thanks for that tip, Dr. Mom. Brushes. Mouthpiece brushes, chimney brushes, just brushes. You may need a long tubing brush. You may need a snake. Different sizes of valve brushes. You're going to need swabs. You should have one alto swab all the time, right? That's in your case. Pick up another one. Same with the clarinets, oboes, a chamois cloth, some cheesecloth. You can do almost anything with it, from making scary Halloween props to wiping down instruments to buffing to wrapping a rod. Cheesecloth. It's good for you. Okay, let's reset and let's see, we'll go in like a pseudo score order. Okay, so here are some of our mouthpieces I want to talk about. This is the worst one here. You see all this Lyman scale buildup that's in here? This is not going to come out with just a regular brushing. This is a dilution of CLR. This is a day-to-day kind of a dirty mouthpiece. It's not too bad. What is this, an alto clarinet mouthpiece? Yep, a Selmer C-Star alto clarinet mouthpiece. You can see how used it is because I work on so many alto clarinets. These are all my personal mouthpieces. Oh, look at this reed. Isn't that nice? Okay, so this is all the kind of stuff that we're talking about. Oh yeah. That ought to have some good stuff in it. Yeah, okay. We'll go ahead and drop that guy in there too. All right, we'll let those guys soak. On the brass mouthpieces, your typical tuba mouthpiece, it's got some little bit of stuff in it. Okay. Same with the trumpets. You can look down the backbore and you can see a little bit, see how there's some of that scum that's on the sides. That's the stuff that we're talking about. This one I play a lot, so it doesn't have very much stuff on it at all. This one gets cleaned on a regular basis. Okay, and this is just a burp, right? The little resistance buzzing piece deal. And then your standard reed guard. Okay, let's give these a wash. Putting on, you work as much as you can into here. Take your mouthpiece brushes and scrub from the back. And rinse. Okay, and you see it's clean. All in the backbore, where all that crud and stuff was, is clean. And that's what you want to have on all of your mouthpieces. Okay, you want that stuff out of there. Because after that, then when you put the disinfectant on it, it will actually do its job. So you can see it's just that fast. That's all it takes for every day-to-day cleaning. See, those came out beautifully. Okay? If you want to go further and put the Stericycle or something like that on that, that's fine. But you've washed it with soap, you've washed your hands with soap, and that is the most important thing. Notice that these reguards will pop up on the side so that you can get in there. Now let's check these. See? You've gotten rid of all that buildup that was there. Now this is my C-Star alto clarinet mouthpiece. If anybody needs an alto clarinet mouthpiece, I think I have several of those. I'll be happy to lay it on you. Okay, now remember here, let's grab these while we're here. This is the ones that we used we diluted some of the CLR. All of that corrosion that was in there is gone. Yep. Beautiful. Okay. Those are not scratches on the rails. It's just where the water is running off of it. Okay. So at this point, if you were to want to use hand sanitizers or the Mighty Mist or anything, go any step further, now you would be ready to disinfect. There's no real clear directions on here, but what you want to do is spray it, and then you just want to let it dry. Don't wipe it off. It takes a few seconds to dry, but you're good and disinfected. And you're ready for, if you're at a show where you're testing multiple kids, by the time this is dry, you're ready for your next kid to step up and go. I will also add that I have never used any of the Sterisols or sprays or anything like that. I just go wash the mouthpiece. If I'm handing it to a kid or I'm playing their mouthpiece, they're playing my mouthpiece, because I let everybody play my mouthpieces, but I get up and I go wash them out and bring it back and let them play. I don't like all the flavoring and stuff, so that's just me. Let's jump right in on a flute now. Flute is actually not so complicated in this sense. It doesn't carry a lot of bacteria and germs. That's a good thing. Most of the keys are all open, so they don't trap moisture underneath. You have the trill keys, the G sharp key, and the E flat key are your closed keys. For cleaning this, you can wipe the instrument out inside, internally, with alcohol, or we can use the Lysol. We use alcohol in this. Do you know how to thread your cheesecloth on? Take your corner, go through, and roll it a couple of times, and then cover everything. You'll take your denatured alcohol or whatever it is that you want. I could have put that in a bowl. That would probably help. And then you just wipe the inside. And you'll see how much of this brown corrosion-y stuff. And it's just the germs and stuff that were inside. If you repeat this process down through the body, and as you get down towards the foot joint and on the body, you're going to notice that you don't have nearly as much stuff coming out. I'm going to spray a little bit of Lysol. And I'm just going to put that right up under the pad. I am not bending this pad. I am opening it enough to allow for it to come under. I'm not putting any pressure on that. Flute keys are so delicate. Don't use any kind of pressure. You don't want to tear it or anything like that. So let's come up here and do these trills. And then check and make sure that you don't have any fibers left behind. Okay? That's all there is. Spray Lysol on your clean chamois. Wipe down the instrument. Boy, this is a nice scent too. This says it's the original scent. That really smells nice. There's a shortage right now of Lysol in our area. But wipe down all of the surfaces. And you'll notice how clean it gets as it takes off all just this surface stuff that you didn't even realize was there. And just be careful not to grab the keys too hard or something like that. You want to be mindful about all that. And you're just wiping off the touch surfaces. And at home, this is a big accomplishment over what we started with, right? You saw all the stuff that came out from the inside, and you saw all the goo that came just from wiping off the instrument. Do you need to do it every day? You can if you want. Every couple of days, it's a good idea. You can if you want. Wiping down the instrument. If you want to take a brush and really get in and clean, take your rag, put your brush through it, and get into all these little crevices. Just be careful not to hit the pads. You don't want, because the brush will tear a flute pad. Be careful of the springs. You don't want to unhook a spring. Okay? These are some things to watch out for. The main thing is to get all the touch surfaces that you can. And remember, this is what we're trying to do, is keep you safe day to day, week to week. You know, your instrument should come to your local repair shop, to your guy or gal, and they should see it at least once a year. I recommend twice a year. Football season, you got concert season. You got outside season, you got inside season. Things change. This is not to replace going to the repair shop. This is to, what can you do on a regular basis to keep your instrument going well, or the kids in your band program going well, to keep the infection rate down. That's what this is about. Okay, let's move on. Okay, friends, we're back with plastic clarinet and a few friends. Okay, the barrel and the bell, you're going to follow the same procedure that you did with washing your mouthpieces. Detergent in the sink, brush them out, wipe them out. You'll want to then dry them off, especially if it's a wooden instrument. You don't want that moisture to creep into the wood too deep and cause it to swell and have problems there. Okay, so we're going to address the bodies. And you notice that I have 3 other joints here, and I'll talk to you about that in just a second. Now, when you look over your instrument, down in these chimney holes, your finger holes, a lot of times these will have gunk in them. Finger cheese is what we call that in our neck of the woods. What do you call it in your neck of the woods? So we're going to get all of this out. Then we're going to put the instrument together. We're going to take our old trusty swab, and I'm going to do this away from my coffee. We're going to spray this swab, and this is why I said I like to have 2 swabs. I have one that I'll use as for my cleaning, and one is just day to day after use. Everybody knows how to run a swab. We learned it in 6th grade or 5th grade. And, you know, I know that everybody should do it every day. We all know that that may or may not happen. I like to come from both directions. On the lower joint, just like with the flute, I want to take that part of my swab and I want to put it under there. I don't want to put any pressure. I just want to drag around. And that's it. And I want to do that, repeat that step on all of the closed keys. I want to come to the upper joint and I want to do that same thing. I'm not trying to squeeze and bear down on a pad. What I am trying to do is just get my cloth, and I do prefer the silks. I will say that. I do prefer these silk cloths. Yeah, this is just a silk. I'll put a picture of this in there. It's a Hodge silk clarinet swab. I got this from my local music store, which is Mississippi Music in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. Big shout out to Carl Johnson and all of the team there. After I'm done with that, I'm going to wipe down the outside of this instrument. Now, this is where a lot of people freak out. Like, freak out. There are a lot of chemicals. You'll notice that I did not use alcohol. I did not mention alcohol on this clarinet. And there's a reason for that. There are a lot of different compositions of plastic, and the uses of alcohols on them can make those brittle. Sometimes it'll turn them brittle and they'll break. It'll take the color out of them, turn them white, bleach them. It will change the molecular structure on them, and the instrument, they literally will. Their alcohol on like a Bakelite plastic will turn it completely brittle. You could tap it and it would just kind of almost disintegrate. It's crazy. Okay. And that's why I brought some of these examples. Here is an old Vito joint that is a Resitone. And you'll notice that I just sprayed that Lysol directly on it. Notice that it just became nice and clean. In prepping for this video, Chris Barker and I went around and sprayed everything that we could and just to see if it would damage, what it would damage and what it wouldn't damage. And we were really happy with this Lysol. It seems to be safe for all of the surfaces that we tried it on. It did not hurt the molecular structure of any of the plastics. This is the same procedure that you would use for your piccolos. You may have to modify and actually use a piccolo rod inside to go down the bore. So it would be a combination of what we learned in the flute section and what we went over in this section. I would not use alcohol on a plastic piccolo. I just avoid it. The Lysol works well. You don't need to use the alcohol. It smells way better. I work on your instrument and you open up the case, your instrument smells good. Like you can look at it and you can see that, wow, my instrument is clean. We didn't take anything apart on this. And it just looks so much better. A visual inspection just lets you know, and it smells good. And I think that's really important as a repair technician and being trusted with your instrument. I want it to come back to you smelling good. I want it looking good. Of course it's disinfected and we did the job, but that's what we want. You notice that these things all kind of overlap one another. So you're always working in these different techniques. Okay, let's move on. All right, as we're moving along, we've made our way to saxophones. Saxophones are going to kind of incorporate what we worked on with the flute, the clarinet. It's going to follow it can follow some in the brass procedures. You might want to have a flexible brush. If you're comfortable, if you feel comfortable taking your neck octave off by this little screw, you can take off the neck octave key and wash the neck just like you would do the barrel and the bell in the clarinet section. If it's got a bunch of buildup in it and you wanted to try to do that diluted CLR for a few minutes, that's fine. Be careful that you do not leave it in there for more. You want to test it first. You want to make sure it doesn't harm your lacquer. That's where it gets into more stuff where what technicians do. What we get into, what we're paid to know about the different lacquers and what things react and all of this stuff. And it gets into some science. So if you're not comfortable with that, please don't do it. What we're going to do is actually spray some of the Lysol directly onto the snake. And we're going to feed that snake and we're going to go through there. And we're going to wipe that. And then we'll take our rag, which I think still has plenty of leftovers on it. But we'll hit it again, okay? And you want to lift the key, lift that neck octave key. And notice I'm not putting any pressure anywhere, but you want to clean the surface of that pad here. And you want to clean the top of the octave pip, which is the little pipe that goes in. It's called the pip. P-I-P. Gladys Knight in the pips. All right. We're going to do the same procedure. That's a long swab. This is the Jewel microfiber. Once again, I got this from my local music store, Mississippi Music. Another shout out to Carl Johnston and the crew down there. And so what we're going to do is we're going to drop the swab down through the bell and back around. Now, like I say, this is something that kids are, they're supposed to do every day. They don't. We all know that. It's the real world. So drag this through a couple of times. Now, while I've got the instrument here, do you know what this key is called? Yes, it's the E flat key. Do you know what else it's called? It's called the sewer key. When you're in playing position, when your spit travels, this is the spit track right here, and it comes out, it hits on this E flat key. This pad always rots out faster. This tone hole always has more damage than anything else because of after they play it, when it's stored, it goes in a case like this, and when it's stored, it's like this, and all that moisture sets right there on this key. And I'm actually going to get a good close-up of this because this is a relatively new horn. It's in that area. Okay. We're going to take this, I'm going to go back to this other rag, but you can take that swab that you have an extra or your original under the closed keys. The closed keys on saxophone are the palm keys, the high E key, you may have a high F sharp, your B flat, your C and your B flat side keys, your chromatic F sharp, your G sharp key, the E flat key, and the C sharp key. The procedure here is to take your Lysol and your cloth and to come up under the key. You see, like this. The flute and the clarinet and all that. I said don't press. Here, I want to actually use a little bit of pressure and provide some resistance against that. And I want to do that under all of these palm keys individually. And then I'm going to want to do the high E key, and I'm going to want to do the side keys here. I want to do the same thing. See, I want to loop this under. I want to put a little pressure and just pull. And you'll notice that the action, you may have had some of that, the kissy sound before, from where the action was. And what that is the green grime and goop that gets up on that. And so you want to, it'll help with that. It'll help alleviate that, because what those are is germ buildup. It's Kit Kat bar and a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, because band is always, right after lunch or something, or you're taking a break, and you go grab a Coke, and now you're blowing that all down your instrument. But you want to go through and you want to do all of these keys. All right, I want to take off this E flat C, because I want to show how fast things can move. Okay. Same age. This is the C key. That's the open key, right? These keys, these pads are the same age. That's the C. Check this out. Look at that. That's the E flat. See why they call it the sewer key? Yep. These wear out very fast. And if you don't swab the instrument or anything like that, this is what you come up with. This one is the E flat. This one is the C. And like I say, they're the same age. How about that? So after you replace that E flat pad, or you clean that E flat pad, then the same applies. You want to take the Lysol and you want to wipe down all of the surfaces, all of the touch pieces on the saxophone. You can also do the same thing as before with the others. Put your brush in, and you can get it in between all of these posts if you would like to go through that. But definitely the main thing is all of the touch pieces, everything that you can easily reach. And that's going to help you a whole lot. Okay? All right, let's do a brass horn. Okay, let's talk about brass instruments. Brass by nature is antimicrobial. However, you'll blow saliva and sandwiches and peanut butters and Cokes like what we discussed. You know, that gets all down in there and allows things to grow. Closed up in a case, it'll allow mold to grow, or you know, all the bad kind of stuff. Okay? So day to day, you would keep it wiped down, right, with the Lysol. On a brass instrument, a lacquered instrument, I don't recommend using alcohol unless you know what kind of finish you are dealing with, whether it's a baked on epoxy, a sprayed on epoxy, a hydrocoat, nitrocellulose, old school ceramics. There's a lot of different stuff. It could be a raw brass where most of the finishes has come off. So Lysol is your better choice for the day-to-day wiping off of the instrument. Okay? And this alone will go very far between this and cleaning the mouthpiece. Taking it apart and giving it a bath. You know, we take our horns apart, I don't know, every 2 to 3 months probably, and give it a bath. And in the old days, you just take it in the bathtub with you. And there's some real good truths to that. Number one, taking it in the bathtub with you because of the finishes that were happening back then. The water, hot water, would make the finish come off. If the water was too hot for you, then the water was too hot for your instrument. So it was a great gauge. Kind of like, you know, if you have a baby and you test the water on your hand. That kind of a deal. Okay. So there's a couple of things that we're going to look at with this instrument. We're going to get it stripped down and then we're going to check it out. Okay? So, let's do. Let's discuss some things here. Let's start. So you saw I had to get my persuader to get the valve caps to move. Okay? The valves look pretty clean. There is some staining on this. For the brand of instrument it is, it could be staining or it could be gunk. However, look at the bottom valve caps. These are not clean. You see all that green stuff? That's not clean. When this was chem flushed, this was not, wherever this was chem flushed at, they did not get this clean. They did the slides. This slide has been in what they call bright dip. Bright dip has a specific color to it. It makes the brass look a certain way, inside and out. They did the slides, and the inside of those slides looks good. I can show you down that mouth pipe. Look at that. You see all that gunk? That is, oh, I'm sorry to hit the, I'm trying to, yeah. See all that gunk that's down? And the colors here. See that green? Okay. You have to be careful when you go to any kind of a commercial shop. You have to check your instrument. Make sure if they charge you for that chem flush, they did that chem flush. The first thing we're going to do is what you can do at home. And that's the detergent bath. We'll start there. I'll meet you back around in the chem room, okay? Okay, friends. So, I've filled my sink with Dawn. This is what you would probably want to do something like this at home. You can see all of this that's inside. We're going to soak it. We'll let that I don't advocate soaking your brass instrument for, you know, the 3 or 4 hours that I see other people talking about on YouTube. I find that you can actually go too far in some of these soaps. The extra chemicals that they put in them that are so good for your hands to keep you from getting the old dishpan hands, I find that they will actually grab hold of the brass and stay if you leave them in for really prolonged periods of time. Also, I would move to another cold cleaner. Once I have the detergent phase of this done, I'm going to let this sit there for probably while we're talking about it, and let the Dawn kind of get in there and do its thing. We're going to scrub it out. If I were doing a cold clean in a big tank with a cold clean, I would use this CLR diluted. That seems to work pretty good. I've got an ultrasonic cleaner. The ultrasonic cleaner works by cavitation and through sound. Surfactant, so that it hits the dirt and pulls it off, encapsulates it. You know, you've seen where it drops down in the water and and everything moves away, and that's what it's doing. It's grabbing hold of the dirt and all that whatnot. And then in my case, I go into the ultrasonic cleaner for several minutes and then brush it all out, blow it out, and then we go back for reassembly and the disinfection portion. So okay. Now, you see, you're able to get quite a bit of it in just several minutes, but it's still there. You know, that stuff is still there. The growth and the green and all of that kind of thing. And now we're going to turn the ultrasonic cleaner on. And like I said, this works by cavitation. Okay, and so what you'll notice here is, see, all of these are so nice and clean, and all of that green crud is gone. So we let these dry out, and we'll get here's our trumpet body. Now, before I even take a snake to it or a pipe brush, look, you see, all of the surfaces inside are completely clean. And we haven't done anything. Following the reflections, you can see a little bit of pitting on the spit track down what would be right in here. There is some rot on the mouth pipe, but see how shiny that is? And we haven't even brushed it out. So when we take our valve brush and go in and do, yeah, I think that might even be some reflection. So we'll wash this out. And that is the beauty of why we love the ultrasonic. It does have to be used in conjunction with other things, but it doesn't change the finish. It doesn't change the instrument or anything like that. Okay, I'm going to get this blown dry. And I'll meet you back at the bench. We're back in the main shop. Everything is dry. So let's kind of go over this again. When you tear your horn apart, you use a detergent. first, and then if you need to do some lime scale removing, you could use in a cold wash. That CLR is real good. The reason that it's so important to get rid of the grime and growth on the inside is that's the part that you breathe. We see kids and players that reinfect themselves because it came from their instrument. This kind of a chemical flush is something that you can accomplish at home. What we've talked about does not take the place of. It is in addition to. So lube everything up. It all goes back together. When it's all back together, we wipe it down with Lysol. And this horn is clean with detergent. It's been through an enzymatic to get rid of the harmful germs and pathogens left inside. When it comes out, it's disinfected. Disinfection happens on the surface, so it's good for the touch. Okay? So that's it. You're good to go. Let's look at this mouth pipe one more time. Uh-oh, sorry. Didn't mean to blind you. Look at that. You see how clean and shiny that is? One last note. When you go to the repair shop, look at your instrument. When you pick your instrument up, look at your instrument. Open the case. Does it smell good? Does it look good? Does it look like somebody worked on it? Pull your main tuning slide. Notice that before this was a very golden color. Now it is more of a straight yellow. That other color was from a chemical called Bright Dip. But see how clean the inside of your slide is now? And it doesn't, and it's shiny. And we didn't even buff these slides. There's a whole other process that we use when we're doing it, commercially for a customer, that we do, processes that we do on the slides to make them look slick. We want all of our repairs to look like they're totally downtown, Hollywood. So when you get your instrument back, pull that slide. Look at the inside of the slide. Look down the mouth pipe. It should be clean. It should look like that. Yes, if you have an older instrument or an instrument that's not cleaned very often, or if you have spots of red rot that you can pinpoints that you can see on the outside, then there's probably going to be some pitting there. But it would be pitting, not coming out the other way, not stuff still growing in there. Okay? So check out your instrument. Make sure that you got what you paid for. I worked in a shop in St. Louis, and I learned a lot from Mr. Howard Funk, and he was like, it's the show me state. We want to see what you can do. And that always stuck with me and made a whole bunch of sense. So look over your instrument. Make sure it's downtown. And if it's not, call me. I'll make it that way. Well, friends, thanks for joining me here today. I hope you learned some stuff about getting your instruments cleaned and sanitized. Cleaning, enzymatic removal, disinfecting, restaurant quality, sanitization. And this is something that you can do, and you can teach your kids to do. You can do it on all of the band instruments in your room, in your band hall. Like I say, these procedures do not take the place of what we do in a commercial shop. What these procedures will do is from the day to day. If you don't do anything more than Lysol down and wipe off the outside of the instrument, that's okay. It will help. Anything will help. When you go home for the spring break, or now that we're closing schools, going on extended holidays, go back to your school if you can, open up the cases, let them air out. Spray the cases with Lysol when you can. Spray the horn with Lysol when you can. Wash the mouthpieces that are there. All of these kind of things. The number one thing, wash your mouthpiece. Keep it clean. I don't know if I had told you this or not, but my buddy, working partner, several years ago, he got reinfected with strep throat twice. And that's when we really started to have evaluate again on how the cleanings are, what are the products that we're doing. When we're play testing an instrument, you'll see that we breathe over here and then we play. You know, if we didn't clean that instrument, if it was just a play condition, we don't breathe right into the horn. A lot of repair technicians have asthmatic and respiratory conditions. Everybody stay safe out there. Wash your hands, wash your horns, wash your mouthpiece. If you have any input on anything that you might try, man, hit me up. Drop a comment. I'm always willing. It's been really so nice to have some of the conversations throughout the Band Instrument Repair Technicians Forum. We're so lucky that we have people that are on med staffs and they write things, and of course we have access to all the material safety data sheets on all of these products, so we can see exactly how they work. And we've been using stuff wrong that we just, 2 weeks ago we weren't even thinking about how those were used, and here we are. So I appreciate you watching. This was not really the kind of chemical flush video that I was originally intending, but I do hope that this helps. Everybody stay safe out there. If I can be of any service to you, my email is wlmrepair@gmail.com. This lovely beast, this is my home. I have a mobile repair shop. I can come to you. I can pick your horns up and come back here. Things may be moving that way in the fact that schools are closing. So we can go and pick things up, bring them back, and bring them back to you. Time will tell. But if I can be of any service to you, please let me know. In this time, support your local music store. Whether they are online or whether you have to call them on the phone to get what you need. Call them up. They'll meet you at the curb if you don't want to get out and go inside. It's very important to support your local artists. A lot of musicians are going hungry right now and are going to go hungry for the next couple of months. So if they're doing something else, if they paint, buy a painting. Tip them for a CD. A lot of folks are doing the tip jars and they're going to perform live on Facebook. Hit them up. We got to make it through this together. That's the big thing. We're all in this together and we have to make it through together. Amazon and all them, they're still going to be there. Your local people, support them, and let's make sure that we get out of the other side of this together. In the South Mississippi area, that would be Carl Johnston and his crew at the Mississippi Music in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. Great staff and a lot of fun people to work with. Although I am leaving the repair shop to start my own repair shop, I've enjoyed 15 plus years of working for Carl and over 20 years of working for Mississippi Music. But now I'm stepping out on my own. More of these videos will come, and we'll just see you on the other side. Everybody take care, stay safe, keep positive.